Hello and welcome back for a webinar on Neuroanatomy episode 2. My dear students, we have started a new chapter yesterday, and that is Neuroanatomy. And we have studied yesterday the introductory part of Neuroanatomy, the definition of brain and different parts of brain, different major parts of brain, and we have started the study of prosencephalon. In prosencephalon, we have started study of telencephalon, and in telencephalon, we are studying cerebrum. Okay, and yesterday we have completed almost half of the part of the study of cerebrum, and today we will go for the remaining part of cerebrum. Okay, so these are the parts which we are going to study all throughout the course of study of neuroanatomy, like cerebrum and basal nuclei, diencephalon, midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata, cerebellum, and remaining other parts related to central nervous system. Yesterday, we have studied the cerebrum and the two cerebral hemispheres. So each cerebral hemisphere contains 4 lobes, 4 structural lobes, and those are frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and temporal lobe. So these 4 lobes we will be studying today one by one. So I request you all to maintain silence, and if you have any questions, you can ask me at the end of this today's session. Yesterday also I told you there is occasionally a 5th lobe, structural and functional, which is called as insula, and it is almost representation of the primitive brain, which is related to the limbic system, which we are going to study in the second, third episode. Okay. Let us study the frontal lobe first today. Now we'll go to frontal lobe. As it is named as frontal lobe, it means that this lobe of cerebrum or cerebral hemisphere lies just beneath the frontal bone. Here you can see the frontal lobe of cerebrum. Can you see the cerebrum? It is shown in blue color. Okay, mostly sky blue color. The frontal lobe is deep located to the frontal bone of the skull. Okay, here you can see in front of the central sulcus. Well, what are the other features which we are going to see now? Let us see through this slide. It plays an integral role in the following functions. That means what functions it does actually. Main function is motor functions. That is why it is also called as motor lobe. It also helps in memory formation. Okay, apart from temporal lobe, it does memory formation, and most of the emotions are related to your frontal lobe. Okay, plus important thing is decision making and reasoning. So these are the higher functions of human being, which are done in frontal lobe. And personality, whatever personality you have, I mean to say intellectual personality, or you can say the mental personality of a person is has to do with the frontal lobe. Here you can see now the cortical regions of the frontal lobe. First is primary motor cortex. It is also called as uh, uh, motor area, and it is located on pre-central gyrus. Okay, cortical site involved in controlling the movements of the body. So all the gross movements of the body are related to this primary motor cortex. Another important area is Broca's area. It controls the facial neurons, speech and language comprehension. It's located on the left frontal lobe in case of right-handed people, and vice versa. Okay, and then there is a orbitofrontal cortex, which is a site of frontal lobotomies. And finally, you can see the olfactory bulb, which is a beginning of, sorry, I can say the end part of the first cranial nerve, that is olfactory nerve, which is responsible for sense of smell. And what are the different sulci and gyri we get on the frontal lobe? Now, each lobe will have different sulci and gyri. Similarly, here you can see the sulci gyri of frontal lobe. Main is a pre-central sulcus, because central sulcus divides frontal lobe from parietal lobe. So now we are in the frontal lobe. So in frontal lobe there will be one pre-central sulcus in front of central sulcus, and there will be transverse superior frontal sulcus, and another below it will be inferior frontal sulcus. That is why we get 4 gyri. precentral gyrus, superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus, and inferior frontal gyrus. Try to remember all this sulci and gyri. You can see this is a central sulcus here, and this is a precentral sulcus here. So we will get a precentral gyrus here, and which is a primary motor cortex. Similarly, you will get transverse superior frontal sulcus, inferior frontal sulcus. In between this, we will get three gyri: superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus, inferior frontal gyrus. You know, there are many other sulci and gyri, but these are the major sulci gyri which I am showing you. There is an important Broca's area located here, just above the lateral sulcus, at the base of the inferior frontal gyrus, which is located in the inferior frontal gyrus of the dominant hemisphere. That means it is located on the left side in case of right-handed people. And Brodmann has given area number 44 and 45 to this, whereas he has given 4 number to the primary motor area, that is located on the precentral gyrus. 6 number is given to the premotor area, which is for the fine movements, gross movement, fine movement, motor speech area. So these are the important area which are located on the frontal lobe. You can see through this slide, area number 6, area number 4, area number 44 and 45. And also there is one frontal eye field area which is located in the middle frontal gyrus. Middle frontal gyrus is here, and immediately in front of the premotor cortex, that is area number 6, and the area number 2 frontal eye field is 8. So it is for the frontal eye field movement. So area number 4, area number 6, area number 8, and area number 44 and 45 for Broca's. These are the important areas which are located on the frontal lobe. So that means frontal lobe is very important lobe, quite significant lobe as far as the motor movements of the motor functions of the body are concerned, plus your personality, intelligence, emotions, okay, decision making, and so on. Here you can see the frontal lobe. Once again, I'll show you all the sulci and gyri. Try to show a little fast because we have to complete all 4 lobes today itself. You can see primary motor cortex, which is a precentral gyrus. Here you can see, because this green blue border is for central sulcus. So in front of that, one strip will come, and this is a pre-central gyrus, which has a primary motor cortex, area number 4. Okay, Broca's area I'll show now. It will be on the inferior frontal gyrus, just above the lateral sulcus, and this is area number 4 for Broca's area, light blue. And orbitofrontal cortex is towards the inferior side, and just below that you will see the olfactory bulb, which is the end part of the olfactory nerve, first cranial nerve. So with this picture we have seen most of the structures. And now we'll go to the parietal lobe. Parietal lobe is the second lobe just behind the frontal lobe, or you can say just behind the central sulcus. And this is primarily a sensory lobe. So frontal lobe is a motor lobe, frontal lobe is a motor lobe, parietal lobe is a sensory lobe. See, opposite to that, you can see. The parietal lobe is located deep to the parietal bone of the skull, so it is called as parietal lobe. And it plays major role in the functions such as senses and integrate sensations. So all general sensations, you can say, pain, touch, temperature, pressure, proprioception. So spatial awareness and perception, what we call as. So that means we will get primary somatosensory cortex, which is called as sensory area, primary sensory area number 312, which is located on the post-central gyrus. It is for the processing of tactile and proprioceptive information. Tactile means touch, okay? Proprioceptive information. This includes pain, touch, temperature both hot and cold. So these are all general sensations. And it is also provided with somatosensory association cortex. So one is a primary, other is a secondary. So it is called as association. It assists with the integration and interpretation of the sensations relative to body position and orientation in space, may assist with visuomotor coordination also. And for this purpose, we get area number 5 and 7. So 312 on post-central gyrus, and behind that, there will be 5 and 7. And plus, you will get one special sensation area on the parietal lobe, and that is primary gustatory cortex. Gustatory means taste sensation, T-A-S-T, jibela chav yete ती. So this center is located on the parietal lobe, which is a primary site involved with the interpretation of the sensation of taste, okay? And that is area number 43. Now you'll see the sulci and gyri which are located on the parietal lobe. there are two major sulci. One is post-central sulcus, just like how we saw pre-central sulcus on frontal lobe, and there is one intraparietal sulcus. That means which divides the parietal lobe behind the post-central gyrus into two parts, and these are the gyri we get are post-central gyrus, superior parietal lobule, and inferior parietal lobule. Now here you can see different areas which are located on the parietal lobe. You can see 3, 1, 2 are located on the primary sensory area, that is post-central gyrus, and you can see 5, 7 they are located on the superior parietal lobule. And at the lower end you can see there is area number 43 located here for the gustatory area. Gustatory area means area for taste sensation. Just we are talking about parietal lobe, so we'll consider only parietal lobe right now. We'll go lobe by lobe. So we'll go to next part of parietal lobe study, and that is you can see the location of gyri and different numbers here on this image. First is primary somatosensory cortex, which is located on the post-central gyrus. You can look at this arrow. It is showing you one strip. So this strip or strap is called as a primary somatosensory cortex or post-central gyrus, which has a primary sensory area number 312, and behind that there is a somatosensory association cortex, which is secondary sensory area. It has got area number 5 and 7. Plus you will get primary gustatory cortex, that means area for the taste sensation, and that is area number 43. So these are the important areas on the parietal lobe. Okay, now we'll go to the next lobe, and that is occipital lobe. Now occipital lobe is far behind. It is comparatively smaller than these two, frontal and parietal. Occipital lobe is commonly called as a visual lobe. Visual means vision, okay, for sight, drushti. So this is visual lobe, that means visual area are located on occipital lobe. So occipital lobe is located deep to the occipital bone of the skull. So it is called occipital lobe, and its primary function is the processing, interpretation of vision and visual stimuli. And what cortical regions we get on occipital lobe, that we'll see through this slide. There is a primary visual cortex. This is the primary area of the brain responsive for sight. That means recognition of size, color, light, motion, dimensions, etc. Right now you are using that area, this cortex, for the purpose of this study. And another area is just behind that, visual association area. It interprets information acquired through the primary visual cortex. That means this is primary and this is secondary. Secondary is also called as association. So area number 17 is given for this by Brodmann, and area number 18 and 19 is given to the association area by Brodmann. So we call Brodmann's area number. Okay. Here you can see the sulci and gyri present on the occipital lobe. There are two important sulci on occipital lobe, and those are superior occipital sulcus and inferior occipital sulcus. And so we get three gyri: superior occipital gyrus, middle occipital gyrus, and inferior occipital gyrus. It's very easy to remember, and you can see those important cortex which are located on the occipital lobe of cerebral hemisphere. First one is primary visual cortex, area number 17. Second is visual association area, area number 18 and 19. You can see this. So these are the two important areas which are located on the occipital lobes. That is why occipital lobe is also called as visual lobe. Okay, frontal lobe is a motor lobe, parietal lobe is a sensory lobe, and occipital lobe is a visual lobe. Now we'll go to the last lobe, and last lobe is temporal lobe. Temporal lobe is located on the lateral side. You can see here, see the color difference. I'm showing in different colors for you to make understand very easily. And here you can see that temporal lobes are located on the sides of the brain and deep to the temporal bones of the skull. So they are called as temporal lobes. They play an integral role in the functions such as hearing. So first and foremost is hearing. That means this lobe is significant for hearing, and that is why temporal lobe is also called as hearing lobe. Just like occipital lobe is for vision and hearing is for, temporal lobe is for hearing, or auditory lobe also we can call. Auditory means hearing. Okay. Plus it helps in organization and comprehension of language and information retrieval. That means memory and memory formation, just like frontal lobe. So frontal lobe also helps in memory, and even temporal lobe helps in memory. Okay, and that is why temporal lobe is also called as hearing lobe or auditory lobe. What cortical regions we get on temporal that we see now? First is primary auditory cortex. That means primary hearing cortex, responsible for hearing. Hearing म्हणजे ऐकू येणे. Okay, and another is primary olfactory cortex. This is a spatial sensation. Both are spatial sensation. There are altogether 4 spatial sensations. Okay, vision, gustatory, that is taste. Third is auditory, and fourth is olfactory. So we saw that gustatory area is located on the parietal lobe, visual area is located on the occipital lobe, and remaining 2 are located on the temporal lobe, that is auditory and olfactory. So responsible auditory is for hearing, and olfactory is for sense of smell. You saw that olfactory bulb just below the frontal lobe, but it comes to the temporal lobe. So primary olfactory cortex is located on the temporal lobe. Okay, once it reaches the cortex via the olfactory bulb, not visible on the superficial cortex. So it is not visible here because it is below. Well, another important area on the temporal lobe is vernix area, and it is just like Broca's area, how we saw on the frontal lobe. Similarly, we get a vernix area on the temporal lobe. It is for language comprehension, which is located on the left temporal lobes in case of right-handed people. And we see all these areas on the temporal lobe. Here you can see 41, 42, 22, 21, 22. Okay, and different sulci and gyra also are shown here. Now, what sulci and gyra you get on the temporal bone? You can see through this slide. There are 2 sulci, which are the superior temporal sulcus and inferior temporal sulcus, just like your occipital lobe, and 3 gyri: superior temporal gyrus, middle temporal gyrus, and inferior temporal gyrus. And here you can see the different cortex and areas on the temporal lobe through this slide. First is primary auditory cortex. This primary auditory cortex is located on the superior temporal gyrus. Okay, so this becomes superior temporal gyrus, inferior temporal gyrus, and inferior temporal gyrus and middle temporal gyrus. Okay, and this one is the primary auditory cortex. It's 41, 42, and vernix area just below that, and it is getting number 49. And primary olfactory cortex deep to this lobe, deep inside, actually just below frontal lobe and temporal lobe, here somewhere here. And area number for this is 47, conducted from olfactory bulb, which comes from the from below the frontal lobe. Here you can see that olfactory bulb is shown here. Okay, now we have finished all the 4 lobes, but there is a arcuate fasciculus. Arcuate fasciculus means a white matter tract that connects Broca's area and vernix area. So this is a Broca's area, motor speech area, and this is a vernix area, sensory speech area, and they are connected together by a white matter tract. Okay, through the temporal, parietal, and frontal lobes. See, the temporal, parietal, and frontal lobes allows for coordinated, comprehensible speech. And any damage to this may result in conduction aphasia. Okay, that is enough for you, because we are not going into clinical terms more. We have to understand the basic or gross anatomy of the brain for your level. Now here there is a image of full of the superior lateral surface of the cerebral hemisphere, which is showing you all 4 lobes together: frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and temporal lobe with their different sulci and gyri, and with their different cortex, or you can say different areas in different colors. For example, this one, light green is a gustatory area. This blue is a primary auditory area. This brown is a primary visual area. Likewise, this is a pre-central gyrus, which is motor area. This is post-central gyrus, sensory area. Primary sensory area, primary motor area. This one is a Broca's area. Likewise, okay, you have to remember all that. And through this small workshop, you can also answer there. Keep your answer in your mind. For example, what is A, what is B, and what is C? For C is very, you can see this deep fissure-like thing, because we are showing lobes and structures, not areas, only lobes and structure. So G, what meaning? What does this arrow mean? For example, E, this must be transverse fissure. This must be lateral fissure. C is a lateral fissure. E is a transverse fissure. Now, D is a temporal lobe. Now, we'll see the answers. A, B, C, D. Because A is a groove, C is a groove, D, E is a groove. And you can see now, A is the central sulcus. What is B? B is a frontal lobe. What's C? C is a lateral fissure. What is D? D is a temporal lobe. What is E? Here is a transverse fissure which separates cerebrum from cerebellum. Okay. Now F is a occipital lobe and G is a parietal lobe. So that was gross. Now this is more details. Here you have to identify the cortical regions. What does A means? For example, A is present on the primary motor area, or you can say pre-central gyrus. Now K is a post-central gyrus. Likewise, all the different areas we'll see through this next slide, cortical regions. Now A is primary motor cortex or pre-central gyrus. What is B? B is a Broca's area. What is C? C is orbitofrontal cortex. What is D? Is a primary olfactory cortex. What is E? Primary auditory cortex. What is F? Vernix area. What is G? Primary visual cortex. Here it is on the occipital lobe tip. H is a visual association area. I is a primary gustatory area. And J is a somatosensory association area. And lastly, K is a primary somatosensory area or cortex or post-central gyrus. These are important areas. So you should remember this. It's very important. Now, same thing I am showing you in a different image, motor and sensory areas of the cerebrum. For example, you can see central sulcus. Red is a primary motor area and this blue is a primary sensory area. They are pre-central gyrus and post-central gyrus locations. You can see this gustatory cortex deep inside. You can see this olfactory cortex going deep inside. You have to see from by separating these lobes. And these are different areas which are located on all four lobes. We have already studied that. You don't want to waste time on this. All higher level functions of cerebrum are shown here with different area numbers. You can see area number 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 44, 41, 42, 39, okay, 17, 18. And these areas, are given, area numbers are given by Brodmann, okay. And different books, different diagrams may show little displacement here and there. But roundabout, you have to tell it, okay. There is no, fixed boundary as such, but they are roundabout, located like this. Okay, this is a frontal eye field area, area number 8. This is a motor speech area, Broca's area. This is prefrontal cortex. Okay, general interpretatory area means Vernix area. Well, now functional areas of the cerebral cortex. Once again, you see through this diagram, and this diagram is, I think it's quite clear about the area numbers. Area number 3, 1, 2. We can't call it as 1, 2, 3 because 3 is located up, 1 is middle, and 2 is down. So we call it a 3, 1, 2. And then area number 4 is a primary motor area on the pre-central gyrus. And sensory area is located on the post-central gyrus. Okay, post-central gyrus. We can see area number 43, gustatory located here below the area number 3, 1, 2. 41, 42 are primary auditory areas. Auditory, because they are located auditory, primary auditory cortex. 22, secondary auditory area. 44, 45, Broca's area. 47, related to working memory object skill, but sometimes it is referred to as this number as olfactory area also. You can see the 17 number primary visual area, 18, 19 secondary visual area. Association means secondary. I told you that because there is a primary, there is secondary. And different areas like area number 6 pre-motor area for skillful movements, and for area number 4 motor area for gross movements, area number 8 for frontal eye field movements. Okay, these are 5 and 7 area, and second is association area for the interpretation of sensations. You can refer this again in your book with they may show something different. Same areas, they get reflected on the medial surface of the hemisphere, cerebral hemisphere. The same area, see, 4 is coming towards that, 6 is coming towards that, 8, because that is a continuation of area towards the medial surface. 5, 7, 17, 18, 19, and some other areas also see, you see like 28 and 34. Okay, they are also part of uncus and therefore primary olfactory area. So additional areas also you get. So this is a diagram of medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. So superior lateral surface and medial surface, these are the two important surfaces we consider for the area numbers. Now altogether, if you want to say what are the different functions of the frontal lobe, I told you that frontal lobe is primary a motor lobe, but other than motor functions, it does so many important functions which are related to your personality, like behavior. तुमची स्वतःची वर्तणूक कशी आहे ते तुमचा फ्रंटल लोब ठरवतो. Abstract thought process, problem solving, attention, that means whether you are attentive or not attentive, so that is attention, and creative thoughts, some emotions, intellect, reflection, judgment, initiative, inhibition, coordination of movements. The coordination of movement, so it is a motor lobe. Generalized and mass movement, that is gross movement. Some eye movement, so it is again motor. Plus it has got an area for sense of smell, muscle movements, skillful movements, some motor skills, physical reaction, and libido. That means sexual urges are actually related to your frontal lobe here. Okay, so this is a list of different functions of frontal lobe. If you go to parietal lobe, it is mainly for sense of touch, that is tactile sensation. Then appreciation of form through touch, stereognosis, what kind of touch is felt by you is decided by parietal lobe. Response to internal stimuli, that is proprioception, and sensory combination and comprehension. Some language and reading functions, some visual functions are also related to parietal lobe. Temporal lobe is mainly for auditory functions, so auditory memories. That means if you listen to a song, you will try to remember who is the singer. If you listen to somebody's song on radio, you can identify the voice through the auditory memories. Some hearing, visual memories also, some vision pathways also, other memories, music, fear, some languages, some speech, some behavior, emotions, and sense of identity. So apart from auditory functions, it has got many other functions to do. Occipital lobe is only for vision, and vision is related to reading. So visual lobe, there is nothing much more there on the occipital lobe. And there are two hemispheres, right and left, and people are also right-handed and left-handed. Right-handed are more in number, both are normal. The representational hemisphere is the right hemisphere, okay, and the right hemisphere controls the left side of the body. And temporal and spatial relationship, analyzing non-verbal information and communicating emotions are the functions of right hemisphere. Left hemisphere is the categorical hemisphere. The left hemisphere controls the right side of the body, and it produces and understands the language. So this is about the two hemispheres. And now we have finished the gray matter of cerebrum. Now we'll go to the white matter of the cerebrum, because if you see, white matter is present inside. You can see the arcuate fibers, longitudinal fasciculi. You can see the longitudinal, corpus callosum, which is made up of white matter. Fiber projection of internal capsule here, anterior commissure here. That means the myelinated fibers are making white matter of the cerebrum. Myelinated fibers means axons, okay, axons of the neurons. And these myelin fibers, they are in the form of association fibers or commissural fibers or projection fibers. So association fibers are arcuate and they are local. You can see this here. And longitudinal within one hemisphere. So within one hemisphere means right, either in right or either in left, either in right or in left. And commissural type of myelinated fibers, they are between the hemispheres. For example, corpus callosum. Now this is your commissural fiber, and it is between the two hemispheres. You can see it is crossing. So it is a commissural, and this is the corpus callosum. And the next is projection fibers. Projection fibers, they link cerebral cortex with the rest of the CNS. Okay, cerebral cortex to rest of the CNS means apart from cerebrum, there are many other structures downwards. And example of projection fibers is internal capsule. In examination, corpus callosum and internal capsule is commonly asked. and you will see corpus callosum and internal capsule here. So corpus callosum is the largest white matter commission of brain connecting two cerebral hemispheres. Communication between left and right side of the brain. It is seen as C-shaped mass of the white fibers on the medial surface of the hemisphere, forming roof of the lateral ventricles. Parts of the corpus callosum are genu, rostrum, trunk, splenium, and body. Okay, there are 5 parts. An internal capsule, it is V-shaped. So corpus callosum is C-shaped. Internal capsule is a V-shaped, compact bundle of projection fibers between thalamus and caudate nucleus medially and the lentiform nucleus laterally. It consists of nerve fibers which connect the cerebral cortex to the brainstem and spinal cord. So that means it is connecting white matter between cerebral cortex and brainstem and spinal cord. It has got 5 parts: anterior limb, posterior limb, genu, retrolentiform part, and the sublentiform part. So you have to do this all by heart because this is commonly asked in exams. And you can see the corpus callosum first. This is white matter actually, but for the purpose of understanding, it has been highlighted in a whole green dark color. So this is all green color is your corpus callosum. Forget about anything. It is present between the 2 hemispheres. So it is connecting 2 hemispheres where the hemispheres are not separable. On each side of that, there are lateral ventricles. These are the parts of corpus callosum. So you can see this middle long portion is your body. This one is body. You can see the body. And there are other parts at 2 ends. So this at anterior end, there is a genu. Genu means bend. Below the genu, there is a rostrum. You can see this portion, rostrum. So rostrum, genu, body, isthmus, and splenium. So these are the 5 parts of corpus callosum. So you have to draw this diagram. You have to tell what is corpus callosum. You have to name this. You will get 5 out of 5 marks. Remember this, commonly asked. Now this is the internal capsule. So in this diagram, this is a horizontal section through brain. You can see white matter in the gray matter because internal capsule is made up of white matter. This is a V-shaped structure here. You can see the V-shaped structure on both the sides, on 2 hemispheres. Both the internal capsules are shown here. So it is a V-shaped band of projection fibers. It is divided into anterior limb, genu, posterior limb, plus retrolenticular part, and sublentiform part. Here you can see the internal capsule V-shaped band of white matter. You can see the genu, corticobulbar. You can see the anterior limb. You can see the posterior limb here. These are the other parts of diencephalon. So we are going to diencephalon later on. So this diagram at least you should draw. And with this, my dear students, we have finished today's topic. And today's topic was related to the remaining part of the study of cerebrum, the cerebral hemispheres, and the lobes of cerebrum. And that was about gray matter and also about the white matter of cerebrum. So where we studied mainly 2 groups, that is corpus callosum and internal capsule. And so we have actually ended the cerebrum. So remaining now, the after cerebrum comes your basal nuclei, and that we will study on coming Tuesday. So with this, I end my today's webinar on neuroanatomy, and episode 2 of neuroanatomy ends here. Thank you. Thanks a lot. See you some other day, that is on Tuesday. Have a nice day ahead. Okay.